Hey everybody, today I'm going to have a look at a video called 8 Secrets to Longer Forehands in Ultimate Frisbee. This was posted recently by Ryan Lowe. Let's just go straight into it.
Hey, my name is Ryan and I can pull my forehand the length of the field.
Alright, strong start.
In this video, I'm going to teach you the 8 secrets to distance for forehand throws.
Wow! And the timing and the music. Look at the production quality. The reflection, the shadow.
When I say lock your grip, what I'm referring to is reaching around to the other end of the disc and pulling it that way so that your wrist gets back and any space gets eliminated. And that way you're in a great position to throw hard. I like to use 3 fingers, so give that a try. You might find there's a little bit more power there, but I think for most people, 2 is the way to go. Just make sure to grab onto that rim, pull everything back, get yourself set up for a good throw.
Nice transition.
And then when they start to throw with more power, they kind of lose balance. So the way to compensate for that is to get a wider stance, whatever feels powerful for you. The problem is, when you've got that wide stance, it's hard to rotate. So what we're gonna have to look at next is how boxers put out cigarettes to loosen up those hips. Boxers are trained to take their back foot and put out a cigarette. Just like that. So if you have a cigarette, you throw it on the ground, you've got this rotation on the ball of your foot. Now that same rotation carries
And then he
through.
put it in the bin, I assume.
When you twist into a punch, you can see that back foot turns. So they want to see this hip turn, back foot pivot, put out the cigarette.
Yeah, it makes sense. Allows the hip to turn further.
When I'm getting ready to throw, I got to get that heel up off the ground, and I'm putting out the cigarette there. It's almost as if I'm throwing a punch that way. Now that I'm turning my hips, I'm getting ready to throw some more power from my hips. So remember, put out the cigarette with your
Anything that engages the hips more is going to be a good thing.
We're going to start a big wind up from our shoulders, and that's going to load up all of this force in preparation for a long throw. So try to get your back facing upfield.
Well, it's good for a backhand, so extra rotation probably helps the forehand as well. So long as you can control the kind of swing that comes with that, so that it doesn't add loads of wobble to the disc.
It's the same in Frisbee. We want to have a high elbow. It's not crazy high, but bring it up about shoulder height. And I really find it helps to lead with my elbow. I really visualize leading the throw with my elbow out front, and that starts to cue good mechanics for that forehand to come through powerfully.
This all ties together with making your body like a whip that begins from the rotation, which starts at the core. So the core strength being the most important thing, and then the limbs being kind of looser and relaxed as they kind of whip around that central core. I think that's the fundamental for both backhand and forehand.
Making sure that we release it down here. We've got to drop that edge, and that's because when we throw really far forehands, really aggressive, powerful forehands, the disc is going to want to turn over in the air, and that's because this edge is traveling against the air. It's receiving more resistance, and more force is actually generated as lift under the disc. So to compensate for that extra lift on this side of the disc, we have to release it at a fairly exaggerated downward angle during that really far forehand throw. So this point is huge. Drop that outside edge during your forehand pull, just like that. I've actually created a training video, which I'll link to right below this one, and it'll teach you how to scale up your dropped outside edge throw until you're actually just throwing the length of the field.
So I found the best way to drop the outside edge isn't by doing it at the wrist or the arm, it's by actually kind of tilting the whole core, so that then if there's like a horizontal line going through your core, you put that at the angle that you want the disc to come out at.
snap your wrist and let your wrist turn, the disc is also going to flop over in the air. The way to get rid of that floppy turnover disc in the air thing is to release the disc and then picture your wrist externally rotating, trying to get your thumb pointing at the ground. So in this point, you're releasing the disc, and even after releasing, you're trying to maintain that wrist shape by pointing your thumb at the ground. During the entire throw, think of your spine as your axis of rotation. So I'm rotating on this type of axis around my spine.
Yes.
I'm not upright turning around my spine this way. It's tilted like this, but everything is pivoting around my spine. My spine is more or less stationary in space, but I'm thinking about not really moving around too much in space. I want my spine to be this straight axis of rotation, and that way I'm able to generate more speed because there's no wobble in my spine at all.
Yeah, it's efficiency. It's mechanical efficiency of the body. You don't need to use the muscles to tilt at all. They're just in a rotation, so you can activate your core to the max.
It's very straight, and it's twisting like an axle. Bang.
Bang.
It's going to be really hard to push with any degree of force, whereas if I simply turn my body and push like this, I'm going to be generating a lot more force here than I can here.
That's
and
true.
That's because my pectoral muscle is weaker in this position, stronger in this position. It's more contracted. So tip number one for throwing longer pulls is release a bit more in front of you and less beside.
That ties in with the high elbow technique as well. Bringing your elbow down means that your pectoral muscle is activated. Such a good shot.
Those are my tips for increasing forehand distance. If you want the full blog, read the whole thing. You'll get a lot more detail and clarity. Honestly, with a little drill that starts out like this, you can scale that up so that your forehand goes like this. Wow, so far. I almost put that in the washroom. So again, click the link below, click the video below, click the link to the video below and get your forehand scaled up.
He's human.
Let's go.
Amazing. Wow. What a great video. He's very good at explaining things very clearly. He's entertaining to watch. The production is through the roof, and the tips themselves seem pretty sound, and interesting as well. Not things that you hear too much, and things that I'm gonna definitely try out next time I'm throwing around. Thank you, Ryan. Fantastic video. I recommend you all go and subscribe. If you check out his YouTube page, you can see he's got just 38 subscribers, which is crazy considering the quality of that video. He's got about 13 videos or so. Just a few views on some of these, and then the latest ones got very popular. I had a look at a couple of these, and yeah, they seem great. He's great to watch and has good advice. I found lifting the heel and rotating the hips further really interesting. When I was working out with weights, I could find that I could rotate further by lifting that heel. And then when I had a disc in my hands, I realized that, lifting the heel means you wind up more for your flick. But if you lift the heel going the other way, that means you can actually wind up your backhand further before you step to pivot. Now this means if you throw a no pivot backhand, or if you want to release as soon as you lift that non-pivot foot, then you can do it much better with this technique just by lifting your heel and rotating. I've recently been trying to spread my weight evenly between my feet when doing this exercise, but putting all the weight over one foot and lifting that heel felt really good. I think the reason for this is that as you shift your weight from one leg to the other, then your momentum is going in one direction, and if you lift that heel and rotate the hips, then you're almost in like sprinter's form. Pivoting wide to, for example, get around a force is incredibly useful, especially against conventional defenses, but a technique which sets your body up to throw in a way that shares body mechanics with sprinting could be amazing. You could accelerate incredibly quickly every single time you release the disc. I hope you enjoyed Ryan's video, everybody. I loved it. I suggest you head over to his channel and subscribe right now. I hope to see more of his videos in the future, and I'll see you again soon.